Alright, so what I'm starting to do with this very first episode, I guess, is to do an overview of various products. You know me, I own a ton of stuff, and this kind of forces me to actually read these rule books that I own and kind of learn the system. Or at least, be able to explain it and understand it, or at least try to. And as always, all these videos are going out to Patreon subscribers first, and then everybody else about a week later. So I hope you might think to subscribe. It's like $3 a month, I think it's worth it. So, the first thing I've got is Advanced Labyrinth Lord. So let's take a look. Alright, Labyrinth Lord was created by Daniel Proctor around 2007. It's based on the basic Expert edition of D&D, commonly called BX D&D, and was one of the first retro clones. That is, games that are backwardsly derived from Wizards of the Coast's open gaming license in order to emulate older editions faithfully and come up with some new stuff. Labyrinth Lord was the first to offer its own license to authors to create content officially compatible with the system, and also BX D&D. It has a few modifications to the rules, notably clerics get a spell at first level, and the class rules extend up to 20th level, whereas the expert set stopped at 14th. And there's a few other small changes, but other than that, it's pretty much a really good clone of BX D&D. Now later, Daniel wrote the Advanced Edition to expand on the basic rules and embrace the AD&D First Edition rules and classes, including the popular race and class separation. In this fashion, Labyrinth Lord and the Advanced Edition Companion. So this book is published by Goblinoid Games, and I'm not sure if I picked this up from them or I got it off Lulu. It's got that print on demand kind of quality. The paper feels kind of cheap, and it's in, just solid black and white, but I mean, that's nothing negative about it. It just is what it is. I think it clocks in at about 265 pages, so I think it's about $30 thereabouts. And yeah, so when you play this game, you are not a dungeon master, you are a Labyrinth Lord, and so that's kind of where the title comes from. So this game primarily uses 6 different types of dice to play and determine the results of actions and situations. It uses a D4, a D6, a D8, a D10, a D12, and a D20. Let's take a look at the classes. We have race as classes, which always has blown my mind that a dwarf is a class or elf is a class, but yeah. And one of the most important things to note is the ability prime requisites for this game. So essentially, if you want to play a certain class, you have to roll good enough, whenever you roll up your character in order to do it. Otherwise, you are going to face penalties for experience. However, if you roll really good, you can get some bonuses. Now here is my personal favorite, the dwarves. They require a constitution of 9, and their prime requisite is strength. So you have to have a really good strength roll for that. And they get 1 d8 of hit dice. So, I mean, what would that be? That would be... Alright, wow, that was a good roll. You've got 8. But normally, oh, okay, he's still pretty good. The other thing I like to play are thieves, which is its own class. I sorta can do a dwarven thief, but it's more like I am a dwarf, that is my class, and then I also choose to be a thief. But we'll get into that in just a minute. Labyrinth Lord has 2 racial groups. They have humans and demi-humans. And demi-humans are, elves, halflings, and dwarves. But humans can be clerics, fighters, magic users, and thieves. high or low prime requisite abilities affect all experience earned for each class. So we saw that table earlier, so that's important. Let's take a look at alignment. So for Labyrinth Lord, you could be lawful, you could be neutral, or you can be chaos. Now it says, chaotic beings are in direct opposition to law. They should be seldom trusted, for they tend to act in evil ways and will be much more selfish than a neutral being. Chaotic characters believe in chance, and that there should be no innate order to life. Now, one thing in Labyrinth Lord I found interesting is when you are the Labyrinth Lord, and when you have players and they're playing a scenario or campaign or whatever, you are supposed to pay attention to the alignment of the characters. And if they follow it, they follow their alignment, you're supposed to reward them, and if they don't follow it, you're supposed to punish them. So if you have like a good paladin and the party's getting its ass kicked by a bunch of trolls or something, and he wants to run away, that's not what somebody who was lawful would do. So he should be punished. Alright, the next thing is equipment. I mean, this part, it's really pretty standard. I did get a kick out of, like, it lists a canoe that you can use as equipment, and a war gallery, of all things. I think it would be funny to buy a canoe and then, have to just drag it around, the whole game. I think it said it only weighs like 50 pounds or something, but, alright. So, alright, you understand that. So let's roll up a character. So you do 3d6 for each one of these, and it's up to the Labyrinth Lord what order you do them in, or how they're assigned. But for this, we're just going to go top to bottom. All right. So let's see. First thing, character's name is Steve, and I guess let's make him a human. Let's make him a fighter, and let's make him 32. Alright, he is going to be neutral. I guess he'd be level whatever. Alright, so let's start with strength. Okay, so that is 8 and 5 is 13. 13. Alright, let's take a look at dexterity. Ooh, he is not very dexterous. That'd be 7. Constitution. 11. Intelligence. Let's see how smart he is. Not bad. 11. Alright, wisdom. Again. 11. And finally, charisma. 12. Alright. Alright, let's take a look at the requisites for a fighter and see how we did. Okay, let's take a look at Steve here. Another interesting thing to note, for hit points, each class is done differently. Like here, the fighter, I'll have to roll a d8 to determine, and like the elf is like a d6. So let's do that really quick and see how many hit points our boy Steve has. He has 3. Ooh. Labyrinth Lord, can I reroll that? Sure, go ahead, Adam. Well, I guess it was meant to be. Steve has 3 hit points. Wow. All right. He's not very good. Not very tough. Okay. So the fighter doesn't have a requirement, but the prime requisite is strength. I have a strength of 13, which is actually my highest roll out of all of these. So yeah, he should be pretty good with fighting. Another interesting thing to note is how spells are done in Labyrinth Lord. Spells are memorized. Your character has to memorize them. But what I found fascinating is you just cast it. There's no, like, rolling anything or whatever. It's just like, boom, fireball, magic missile, whatever. The only thing that can mess you up is if you are getting hit while you're trying to cast it and you fail the saving throw. Oh, and the other thing is you have to have your hands free and your mouth has to be free. So if you're tied up or gagged, you can't cast any spells. You start out with 2 first level spells and 1 second level. To learn new ones, it's done in-game, either via a Mage's Guild or you found a scroll or books. That's kind of a, more of a Labyrinth Lord kind of thing. And if you fail to cast it, you forget the spell. And it takes 8 hours rest in order to memorize a spell again. I should note that this is Advanced Labyrinth Lord, which includes the referee book, which would be separate from the basic Labyrinth Lord book. Let's take a look at how we do experience in this game. It's pretty much all about killing monsters and treasure. So you actually get treasure based on what level the monster was, which also gives you your experience. So you have a class and then what to roll. It's like this is a 1d6. Oh, it's cocked. It's a 4 times 1,000. So you get 4,000. So experience is gained from 2 different places. Treasure and monsters. Characters only gain experience from treasure of a non-magical nature at the rate of 1 XP per gold piece value of the item. The value of the items are added together and then converted into GP units if necessary. For example, if the group finds a statue worth 500 gold and a gem worth 250, they're added up to be 750 experience points and evenly divided between the characters. All defeated monsters grant XP based on how powerful they are. They begin with a base XP determined by hit dice and receive a bonus for each special ability they have, like breathing fire, spell abilities, etc. So if you're wondering how you even begin to encounter monsters, they've got it for you right here. There is the actual Labyrinth play sequence, which it uses turns, to move about, look for traps, listen for noises, search areas. The Labyrinth Lord occasionally rolls random encounter. I mean, it's pretty standard. So, like, the first thing you do on each round is roll a d6 for initiative. The side with the highest result on 1d6 goes first. Other sides in the conflict will react in order from highest to lowest roll. Initiative is rolled again at the start of each new round. If initiative is tied, each side in the tie acts at the same time. Actions that can be taken in a round include attacking, running, casting spells, attempting to communicate, and other possibilities. So how does combat work? Players declare movement or actions, roll initiative, winner goes first. Move, then missile attacks. Spells are cast and applicable saving throws are made. Melee combat then occurs. Other sides act through steps 4 through 7 in order of initiative. And when all sides of a conflict have acted, the combat will continue into the next round. The sequence begins back at 1. So I know you're wondering, if I get hit, how do I save myself? So all characters and monsters can make saving throws to avoid the full effects of spells or certain attacks. The player or Labyrinth Lord will roll a d20. A result that is greater than or equal to the value listed for the saving throw is a success. However, the roll is failed if the result is less than the listed number. So if you look at this, like if you are a cleric, you are level 1 through 4, and you get shot with a breath attack, you need to roll 16 or better on a d20. So, you know what? Where is my nice little thing? There we go. All right. So to make that, you've got to roll 16 or better. We did not make it. So we would take that damage. So in getting that treasure, if you had actually killed the monster instead of failing your saving throw, you've got a bunch of pages of different things you can get, including magic pages. In the basic book, it's 14. And lastly, Advanced Labyrinth Lord has about 30 pages of designing your own labyrinth. So it's not only just like a dungeon, it is encounters, locations, characters, NPCs, all this stuff is in there to kind of help you create your own thing, including optional rules. All in all, I think it's a really cool book. I got it, I think, because I wanted to run the Stonehill dungeon. I think that's what I was going for. And yeah, it seems really simple. Looks like really fun, really crunchy. I'd love to see how Steve would handle an adventure with 3 hit points. So yeah, I would recommend it. Like I said, this isn't a review. This is just kind of an overview. I want to, play this game and go through some of the, mainly mega dungeons that I have. But yeah, I would play any real scenario. I know on Drive-Thru RPG, they have PDF, extra classes, races, and a bunch of other stuff, as well as tons of modules and whatnot for it. So I hope you liked this. I hope you'll subscribe to Patreon and or like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. I think I'm legally required to say that, but yeah. Anyway, thank you guys.